In this video, you'll learn to remove and install the logic board in Mac Studio. The bottom cover, power supply unit, internal frame, speaker, and all I/O boards need to be removed before beginning this procedure. We're using an ESD-safe workstation with a T5 screwdriver, a T5 bit, a 10IP 50mm bit, a black stick, ESD-safe tweezers, the antenna tool, and a pair of torque drivers. The torque drivers you'll need have the following values: 1.2 to 3 Newton meters and 10 to 34 Newton centimeters. Be sure to keep all screws in the procedure organized, as there are different sizes and torque values to be mindful of when reinstalling. Start by placing the unit with the I/O boards facing away from you. Using the antenna tool, disconnect 2 of the 3 antennas from the logic board. Using a Torx T5 screwdriver, remove the 2 T5 Torx screws from the 3rd antenna. Remove the antenna from the enclosure. Remove the other antenna cable from the antenna clips and route the cable outside of the enclosure. Gently secure the antenna cable in place using Kapton tape. Using a Torx T5 screwdriver, remove the 2 T5 Torx screws from the antenna near the coin cell battery. Remove it from the enclosure and lay it on the logic board. Gently secure the antenna to the logic board using Kapton tape. Using a black stick as needed, apply Kapton tape on the enclosure to protect the inner surface at the logic board mounting points. Using a 10IP bit and a torque driver, remove the 4 10IP Torx Plus screws. Position the unit to get the best possible handle on the logic board. Tilt the logic board assembly up from one end and shift it forward slowly. Once it has enough clearance from the enclosure, lift it up and out slowly. For logic board reassembly, prepare the unit by applying Kapton tape on the enclosure to protect the inner surface from scratching at the logic board mounting points. Here are a couple of considerations for installation of a new logic board. A new logic board will have a pull tab located under the coin cell battery that needs to be removed using ESD-safe tweezers. Also with a new logic board, the fan, antenna, bus bar, and power signal cable will all need to be transferred, and flash storage will need to be transferred from the logic board. Tilt the logic board and lower the south end of the logic board first. Shift the logic board toward the south end of the enclosure, like this. Check for clearance between the logic board and the enclosure located on the south end. Lower the logic board once it clears the north end of the enclosure. Align the logic board and enclosure screw holes. Using the 10IP bit and appropriate torque driver, install the 4 Torx 10IP Torx Plus screws. Remove the Kapton tape from the enclosure. Reinstall the antenna cable to the antenna clips on the enclosure. Reinstall the antenna module that was on the logic board to the enclosure. Using a T5 screwdriver, loosely install the 2 T5 Torx screws for the antenna to the enclosure. Finish the installation using the appropriate torque driver. Reinstall the other antenna module to the enclosure. Then install the 2 T5 Torx screws to the antenna on the west side of the enclosure. Now, using the antenna tool, connect both antennas to the logic board. Follow the steps in system configuration for Mac computers with Apple Silicon. See TP 1901 for more information. Put the computer in DFU mode as outlined in TP 1758 and run the Restore Device Suite in AST2. See TP 2100 for more information. This will install the latest firmware and Mac OS. Then restart the computer in diagnostics mode. Then run the System Configuration Suite to configure the replacement logic board with the computer. Completing the System Configuration Suite is required for the flash storage and logic board procedures. See TP 1901 for more information. Run the appropriate post-repair diagnostic suites as described.